Hey guys, how are you? Suze from Smart in Coaching. Have you benched your ambition? Have you ever thought about it? Does that make you feel a little bit like, okay, let's think about this a little bit? So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about different times that we do bench our ambitions, sometimes knowingly, sometimes unknowingly, and how you can go about giving that a little bit more of a burst and, I don't know, putting it onto the court and giving it a run. Okay, so benching your ambition. We do it in a multitude of different ways, but we don't do it knowingly. We can hang around with people who don't have any ambitions, and therefore we don't voice our ambitions if we do have any, and we don't live in that possibility. We live firmly in the now and the past, and we can dance around all sorts of ways there with, I don't know, just staying stuck in what is, what has been, and not really going into what could be in our conversations, in everything we do. Maybe you're in a group of friends who forever has done this, this, and this at this time of the year, and you've done it for 10 years or whatever like that. Do you know what I mean? And you're just in the same. And you're basically repeating the same thing, the same thing, the same thing, even though it's a different year and you're different, but you go back to the same thing. So you don't look outside of that because, hey, that's working and that's brilliant and that's fun. And that can be good in lots of ways, but it can cause you to stay in that person part of you. Another way we can bench our ambition is by being the smartest person in the room. If you're hanging around in places where you're the smartest person in the room, you're always giving out to other people, giving advice to other people, showing other people how it's done. Even in the workplace, if your top job is that job and everyone else is seen as relying and needing you, and you are helping to grow them, but you aren't receiving any growth yourself, that can stunt your ambition. That can cause you to stay where you are. That can cause you to believe in the back of your mind, this is as good as it's going to get, so I'm just going to go with it. And that in itself may cause you to feel stale at times, feel frustrated a little bit with your life, and feel like you're going nowhere, because you are going nowhere. Yes, you may be at the top of that echelon of whatever it is, but I believe that humans always need to grow in some area of their life. And if you're not growing in some area of your life, you are not renewing your energy to be able to feed into the people that you are trying to grow within your environment. So that's another way we bench our ambition. Now, we can knowingly bench our ambition, and I want to give an example of how I did that. So when I had children, I decided, I was a mum quite early, and I decided to commit wholly and solely to that. Now, I say that, but I did work part-time jobs here and there when my husband was out of work. But for the most part, I stayed home with the kids, and I did the lunch tuck shops and sat on the committees, coached sport, did parent help, was fully immersed within, and I had 4 kids, so fully immersed within childhood life. And then when they got older, it was after school jobs, after school sports. It was going away to weekend basketball, weekend football, weekend hockey, whatever that happened to be. We didn't have time to go on holidays and things like that because we were always in that, for that 20 years, we stuck in that kind of a mode of parenting. And I chose to bench my ambitions. I didn't do it to start with though. I tried to put some things for me that I wanted to do in, and it just didn't fit into the schedule, monetarily or time-wise. And I could have made them fit, but it would have been at a cost to my own sanity, trying to fit them in, trying to work it out, trying to get babysitters or go here, there and everywhere and get multiple people to multiple places at the same time. So I chose to bench all of that and put wholly and solely into kids. Now I say this, I just want to have a side note here. I say this, I'm not saying this to say, oh, this is what you should do. I'm not saying it to say, oh, look at me, I'm the greatest mother in the world. That is not what I mean either. I'm just saying I couldn't fit it in financially, emotionally, schedulally, so I just benched that because that was the one thing I could pull out of the equation at that time to help lighten my load in the end. So I benched it there. So they are some of the ways that we can bench it. There are other ways too. There are other ways with staying within something that you've reached the top end of and you can't go any further. And sometimes it's really nice to reach the top end and that's what you want. But like I said, that can be okay for a while, but human beings like growth. If you're not getting growth in some other area of your life, then maybe that will start to grind on you and grate on you, and it will feel a little bit weird, and you need to find yourself into some ways to expand yourself. So ways that you can do that, I've already touched on one. If you're the smartest person in the room, then you need to find yourself some new rooms. Find people who are doing what you want to do or are ahead of you in what you're doing right now. And if you can get in there, you can glean from them, you can learn from them, you can get your juices flowing again just by being in those rooms where people are talking about stuff that you're wanting to head into. I know for me, when I started life coaching, I signed up and everything was great. And then the company I signed up with was on the other side of the country, but they ran an event where I lived. And so it was in the city, and I trained into the city, and I attended 2 days there. And to walk into that room was amazing because they were giving us an overview of what was to come, what they were offering to see if we wanted it. But in that room were all the people who wanted to do that same thing. And that built you up, and that gave you the excitement, and you could connect and have conversations with people who you knew were on the same wavelength or page as you with what they wanted to do. And the connections that we made in that room are still lifelong today. And that was 2018. And so that sparked some genius. And then when you'd have conversations with them, that sparked stuff. I didn't find that there was any in that room at that moment in any of the events that I've attended since. There wasn't any animosity or any climbing over people to get to the top. We were all anxious for everybody to succeed, and in that energy I think everybody can succeed. So find yourself in places like that. Now, another way is to expand your friendship group. Now, I know that this one can touch on some people, and they'll be like, oh, but we've been friends since school, we've been this or we've been that, and we hang together and we do every Friday night, and we go here and we go on holidays twice a year, and we whatever. And there is a little bit in that in itself. That's doing the same, and it's comfort in the sameness. But are you allowing yourself to expand your friend groups and expand your horizons? You can get stuck in that sort of a rut, and then the conversations year after year, even though you're a year older, can be the same, about the same things, about the same stuff, the same anything. It's just like when you go to work and you have outside of work events, and quite often people will sit there and bitch and moan about work, or you have a group of people that get together, whether the kids are on a play date or at a birthday party, and you find yourself bitching about spouses or about other friends or about work or about whatever, and it can become, it's almost toxic because it's quite stale, it's quite debilitating. And even though you are meeting and connecting with people on a level and you're able to get that out, if that's the constant thing that you're doing every time that you meet up, then there's no growth there either. So I encourage you to find groups of friends that are doing different things, friends of friends, maybe, head out to some of those things where the conversation isn't, we all know each other, so we just go back to that constant thing. Do you know what I mean? Finding out different things about new people can spark all sorts of things and can bring out conversations in you about things that you've forgotten about. They may talk about stuff that they're doing that you're interested in, and you can find out about it. And that becomes more expansive, and it becomes more growth-filled. And you'll find that you'll really, really enjoy being able to step out of that known into something that's new. And that might just spark the juices within you to, spark your life back up again. I often talk about sparking your life up again because we can lose the spark at different parts of our lives. And like I said, we can park our ambition or park things for a time, but then you need to go back to those. So just at the end of this, I'd like to say I parked my ambition, as I said, while I brought my kids up. But when I got out of that and the kids were older and suddenly I moved away from the home I'd lived in for 45 years and moved somewhere else where I didn't know anybody, it was quite a shock to my system because I had nothing that I was familiar with. Everything was unfamiliar. But I found, once I got over the shock, that I was able to step out into different groups, and everyone I was meeting was new, and everywhere I was going was new, and everything I was experiencing was new. And that just brought such a big period of growth in me, of excitement to get up every day, because it wasn't the mundane same old, same old. It wasn't the same people that you see in a little town with 2,000 or 3,000 people who you loved and you spent time with, and that was great, but this was a whole different thing. And the expansion was amazing. And I felt like at that point in my life, as a 45, 46-year-old, like anything was possible. And that helped me to step out into new things like becoming a life coach, like taking public transport when I was always scared to do it on my own. All sorts of little things that then became bigger things, that then became bigger things. And it reminded me that when you make new friends, how you can rediscover parts of you that you pushed down or forgotten about, or you don't talk about anymore because you're with people who are exactly the same as you, that you've spent all the time with. They either know all about you, or you've talked about that before and no one really connected with you on a level. So I found people that I connected with. I found new jobs that I could do that I didn't realise I could do, and I found all sorts of ambition just by stepping out and being somewhere unfamiliar. So I want to encourage you to have a bit of a think about the ways in your life that you are maybe shelving your ambition, benching your ambition, putting it to the side at the expense of feeling joy in your life. Where can you put a little bit more expansion into your life so that those ambitions can get a little bit of a stoking, so that they can come back to life, so that you can come back to life? Because at the end of the day, as we grow, as we change as people, as we get more familiar with the comfort and the comfort zone that we're in, it gets to the point where you need to expand that comfort zone. And you don't just do that once, that's an ongoing thing, because the expanded comfort zone that you step into then becomes that expanded comfort zone. Once again, you're comfortable, and your brain and your psyche and your soul will really, 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 it needs to then expand again, become comfortable, find an equilibrium, expand again, become comfortable, find an equilibrium. So I believe it's a lifelong thing. And the more things that you can do that are new within your life, they don't have to be big things, but the more new things that you can do on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis will help add that spark back to your life. Okay, I hope that this video was helpful. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I look forward to seeing you again in the next video. Take care.